In fact, you know what? I'm not going to. You're going to keep you on here, dude. Dude, here he is. He's right there. His name is Aaron Darko, and he is, in my eyes, a massive influence in the health and fitness space and the nutrition space as well. And I just wanted to tinkle around with his thoughts and his expertise to see if he can help out our community, my community. And I'm so blessed because I don't know what time it is. I think it's 6 p.m. over there in Bali.
5 p.m.
5 p.m. I was close. And Aaron has given us some of his time, a snippet of his time on a Sunday evening. And I'm just so buzzing to have him just here, because today we're going to be talking about nutrition. We're going to be talking about ins and outs, what he's learned, what he's experienced. What we're going to say today isn't, you must do this, you must do that. It's just tips. It's just advice. It's just what's helped him. And what I thought, you know, because I've met Aaron in San Diego, and it was awesome. It was really, really cool. And I've followed his journey ever since. And this content is coming out is just so rich, so purpose-driven. And the fact that he speaks with his mom a lot, and his mom comes on the camera and things is really, really, really cool. I love that. I love that relationship. Yeah, dude, so let's begin. Megan says, hello. Dude, how are you? What's going on?
Okay. Thanks, Dale, for the intro. Yeah, we met like what, a couple of years ago, 3 years ago now?
Yeah.
2 years ago. Yeah. And so I've been in Bali ever since, because I've been in Asia for 10 years. And I was that guy back in the day, 4 years ago, only 4 years ago, I never took my health seriously. Like, I was always working on the computer. Like, my ex-girlfriend was a yoga teacher for 7 years. And I only went to yoga. I can count on one hand in 7 years how many times I went to yoga. That's how much, like, health was not a priority in my life at all. It was always money over health, right? And it's like that quote from the Dalai Lama. He said that the thing about man is that he sacrifices his health to make money, and then when he gets the money, he sacrifices the money to get his health back. And that's I think what most people do, right?
Yeah. So would you say that's something to do with like chasing a different alignment? Is actually not having your values in check? Is that just what did you change for?
So when I decided to change and focus on my health, which was 4 years ago, it was because of an outside influence. Basically, one of my friends who I knew at the time came to spend time with me, and he didn't even have to say anything or do anything. It was just him as he was, shone the light on all the things that I wasn't working on, right? Like having a business that he really loved, like a partner that he really loved, you know, just every area of his life that was actually optimized. And I was looking at my life and I was like, this is not what I want to achieve. Like, I'm not achieving the success that I thought I would have by now. And so I thought to myself, something needs to change. And that's when he invited me to the gym, and then we started working out. And I started seeing how he ate, which was completely different to how I ate at the time. And I started equating the two. I was like, oh, so he works out like this and he eats like this. That's why he's getting the results that he's getting with his physique. And, you know, he walks into a room and instantly you notice him, you recognize him, right? So I wanted that, I guess it's respect and power that comes with the confidence that comes from that, right? Like feeling good within your own skin. And I think that's what everything stems from. It's just, if you feel good every day, then you're going to do good. You're going to put the good food in your body. And we can talk more about relationship with food, self-love, all of these different topics that I'd like to talk about.
Yeah, dude. Well, I'm buzzing. I'm really, really excited. And it's clear to see as well that on your Instagram that you are absolutely ripped. And I'm not saying that from a like, oh, look at this, it's so cool. I'm saying that from a dedication point of view. It's so cool because you're not doing any stage work. You're not in a competition. You're just doing it for you, the pinnacle of why we should do things in this world for ourselves. Right. And it's cool to see that. I know you find it. So, it's really, really important that we do things for ourselves. So, yeah, the relationship with food. Okay. Now, obviously, I was gonna hit that pretty hard, but first of all, what do you do? Let's give people a bit of intro to you. So, what do you do right now? And just show off a little bit for me.
Yeah. So, like I said, I've been doing this for 4 years now. I'm a health coach. I started out with basically sharing what I was doing to shred my belly fat and reveal my six pack and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it was a program called Alpha Shredding, and it did really well. Got some success stories, but ultimately, what happened was with a lot of people, life got in the way, right? And when life gets in the way, you stop doing the things that got you the results, or you just self sabotage because in the back of your mind, subconsciously, you don't feel worthy of the new body that you're in because you're used to having the old body. And so that's what was starting to happen. And I didn't realize because I'd only focused on two components, which is nutrition and workouts, and a bit of sleep. But I didn't focus on the mindset side of things. And so that's why people would life would get in the way, and they didn't have any strategies to deal with that. So then I started to figure out, okay, these people are having these issues. So that's when I went into coaching, and that's the transition in my business is when I met you, Dale, at that event a couple of years ago, because I realized that I needed to serve these people at a higher level, and to do that, I need to go deeper with them. And so I changed my business model to coaching, and the coaching really allowed me to understand the psyche of how people think about losing weight and their relationship with food, and how their relationships influence their relationship with food. And everything's intertwined. Like, you cannot compartmentalize success. That every area of your life is connected. And a lot of people like to think that health is just this standalone pillar over here, but it's actually connected to everything. So that's what I started learning as I started coaching my clients, and they started getting life-changing results because now they have the pillar in place with the mindset. So now they're not going to self-sabotage when they get the results. Like now and one of the main reasons why I'm so passionate about talking about this is because one of my reasons for being in this business is to help the adult understand their nutrition and be aware of how their emotions affect what they eat, so they can give it to their children, right? And I see it with my dad. My dad's got a partner, and he's got a child with her. He's been with her for about 10 years now. And so I've got a baby brother. He's 5 years old. And I see it with them. I was hanging out with them. I was just in London for 2 months before I came to Bali. When Bali announced that they were closing the borders, I just ran back to Bali, basically. I was like, I'm out of here. I'll see you guys.
No wonder you're rich, mate, running all that way.
Yeah, so when I'm with them, I just see how if you help the parent understand nutrition at a very basic level, but understand like the nutritional myths and how to feed their child in the best way, then you actually empower the whole family, and then you have a healthier household and you have a happier child. Like when your child's having all these mood swings, right? That's a result of the nutrition. Usually it is. And for anyone watching, there's a documentary on Netflix. It's not really marketed that well, but it's a very good documentary. It's called The Magic Pill, and I would urge every adult who has a child to watch that documentary. I can summarize it for you. So basically, what happens is there's this kid who has epileptic fits, and they go in. The team of experts, nutritionists, go into the house, and they go into the cupboards, and they go into the fridge and the freezer, and it's just chicken nuggets, French fries, potato wedges, like all of this stuff, right? Like no real nutritious food, no fresh foods, all frozen stuff. And that's what they were feeding the kid who had epileptic fits. So the nutritionist decided to take everything out of the fridge, everything out of the cupboards, and then they bought keto food. So they bought, cabbage, they bought broccoli, they bought coconut oil, cheese, eggs, and all this kind of food. And for the first week, the child was crying every time dinner came because there was no potato wedges, there were no chicken nuggets. But eventually, what happened was the child started eating the food that was displayed because, of course, there's no food, there's no other food. So what's the child going to do, right? They had no choice. And miraculously, over the next 1 month, they were tracking the subject. They were tracking this child's health over the course of the month. And after 1 month of eating this way, with fresh whey, healthy fats, protein, no processed food, the child didn't have any epileptic fits. And that was just one subject that they followed during the documentary. But it's goes to show you that when you really double down on the nutrition, your child's health increases exponentially. And I can talk more about this as we go along.
Perfect, dude. That's awesome, because obviously it's important what you put into your body, and I love the way that you've actually came to the understanding in your own way of that mindset is really important, because when we have a healthy relationship with ourselves, we want to make sure that we're putting the right things into ourselves, because it's like a self-love thing. We're not sabotaging ourselves or being lazy by just smashing KFCs and stuff. I don't know if you saw. I had to do a food shop to get fresh food and stuff from Tesco, and so a lady cut me up, and it was quite. I had to react pretty fast. Thankfully, I wasn't wearing these blue light glasses. I was like that. And she cut me up, and I didn't bother beeping. I was just like, I'm in control. And she was off, and I saw her dive straight into KFC. And the car queue was horrific. It was horrific, and it's just like that. It was just like that. It's okay to do that for a treat, I understand, but my gosh, like the different relationships people have with themselves can affect who they are by what they put into their body. So I'm really excited to understand more about this. Just one tiny question there. When you understood that it was mindset, and so it's health and food, so health, body and food, let's say, you got that, and you grasped that, and you were in good condition. When you found out your mindset, I know you were helping out your clients, and they got amazing results. By the way, we're going to show all that off at the end of this, dude. When you found out this mindset, how did that affect you and your physique or your lifestyle when you found out personally for you about the mindset?
Yeah, it was just one of the main things that I teach people is just awareness, right? So being more aware as a human is always a good thing. And it goes with everything in life, like relationships. Right now I'm studying a lot about relationships and just being aware of my patterns in relationships. And it's the same thing with food, being aware of how different foods affect you. But the mindset is really, for me, it was being more aware of my habits, right? Like, because when you have a habit down, you don't pay attention to it because it's automatic. So for me, living this healthy lifestyle, coaching these clients through the mindset stuff made me more aware of my mindset when it comes to health. Like, how do I think about this? Because that's what people are paying for, right? Like, when you pay someone who's perceived as an expert in whatever, you're paying for access to their brain. Like, how do they think about this? Like, how does this guy think about breath work, and how do I think about it, right? Like, how does Dale think about parenting versus how I think about it? That's what you're getting from that. So yeah, I just was more conscious of my habits, and then helped my clients understand that, for example, having a circle of friends who are healthy is exponentially going to increase your chances of getting whatever you want, like in terms of success, because your environment's more powerful than your willpower. Like, the people that fail, well, I've been in this business for 4 years now, the people that always fail are the people that think that they can just willpower their way through, and that's not the case. It's kind of like, if two people, I always use this analogy because it's a great one. So 2 people are trying to stop smoking. Person A, their closest 5 friends don't smoke, okay? And they're trying to stop smoking. Person B, their closest 5 friends all smoke, and they're also trying to stop smoking. So you've got 2 people trying to stop smoking. Which person's going to actually stop smoking eventually? It's person A, right?
Yeah.
Because their friends don't smoke. So human beings naturally want to fit in with their social circle. So even if you consciously say, for example, person B, they consciously say, I'm going to stop smoking, but their environment, their 5 closest friends all smoke. So you're going to feel like the odd one out if you don't smoke, and it's just, that's one of the biggest things that I've noticed, because in Bali, all my friends are, I see them at the gym, we hang out together, and they're all healthy. So it's easier for me to be healthy because I'm fitting in with the group. And so that's why building community for me, that's one of my focuses, is to build a community where people come in and then they can see, oh, she's on the same path as me, or he's on the same path as me. So, we're all heading in the same direction, and I don't feel lonely, because one of my clients, he said, it's hard to change your life by yourself. And he constantly struggled with trying to lose weight by himself until he reached out to me. And he said, that's the problem with most people, is they're trying to do it alone, and you just can't. We need each other.
Yeah, that's very powerful, dude. I'm going to write that one down. We do need each other, especially through times like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, underline that one. Yeah, cool. Okay, buddy. So you've just got it. You've got a. That's cool. A 5-year-old baby brother. That's awesome. I was wondering if you could share a little bit about a relationship with food. So there's a lot of parents going to be watching this, and it's the ones that actually care about service to their child. How important is it to have a healthy, I'm not going to say good and bad, I don't want to label it like that, but a healthy relationship with food from an adult point perspective first, and then a child?
Okay. Yeah. So as an adult, the relationship with food stems from childhood, right? And so that's why it's even more important that I'm here talking about this, because I need to bring that awareness to parents that if your child is eating in a way that you don't really agree with right now, but you're still putting that food on the table for them, that's only going to get worse when they get older. And I've seen it play out. So I like to use the example of my own family to illustrate this, because I'm seeing it firsthand. And so I'm very aware of it, because when I speak to people who are adults before they enroll in my program, they always tell me that their habits, their bad habits, right, or just their emotional eating tendencies, eating when they're feeling sad and stuff like that, it all stems from when they were a kid. And so one of the solutions to this is to figure out what else you can do apart from eating, because especially now, most people eat when they're bored, and this is they don't go for broccoli when they're bored, right? we don't go for broccoli when we're bored. And yeah. And so it goes deeper than just food, right? It's about emotions, emotional health. And so it's a really deep topic, but essentially it's about feeling good. And if we're not feeling good in our relationships, for example, if we're feeling stressed in our relationships, then how we're conditioned to deal with that stress is by eating chocolate cake, right? And so the root of the problem is not the chocolate cake. Like, sure, you can eat that, whatever, but the root of the problem is that you don't have strategies in place to deal with the stress. And so you just default to the food, which has been programmed into you from childhood. So it's super complex. And so we have to get to the root of it and then fix it. But because people are not broken, right? That's what most people believe. And again, everything I'm saying is in the context of what I've heard from my clients in coaching. So I'm not like making this stuff up. Like, this is what I've been told by my clients, So they think that they're broken, and I have to reassure them that there's nothing wrong with them. It's just that they have some beliefs they're holding on to, and they don't have some strategies in place that can help them. And that's really it. But once you have the strategy and you understand where the problems are coming from, then you can go about solving it.
Yeah, 100%. So if it's not so, let's say for example I was overweight and I was I don't know, and work was bothering me, or my boss wasn't being very nice to me. And when I was younger, this is what I'm kind of hearing from what you've got from your clients and all of your research that you've done. You've got so many clients internationally, which is awesome. So when I was a kid, when I used to deal with being told off by eating food, and when I did have food, I linked my unhappiness to that food. But in a way, that food, because it was all colourful and bright and red and blues and sweets and M&Ms, whatever. What I've done is at that level, that age, let's say 7, been told off. My teacher told me off, Mum. Oh, it's okay. Here you go. Have a cuddle. Go and get some sweets. Oh, that made me feel better. And if that pattern, like that habit I've just wrote down that you said, keeps happening, that's not going to leave them. They're going to turn into a 35-year-old man who gets told off by his boss at work or put under pressure. So he needs to consume food, to make him feel better. So what have you learned with your clients, or how have you helped your clients that can actually help them backtrack and think, oh, do you know what? No, I don't have a very good relationship with food because I used to eat when I did this. When I think of food, I feel happy. And I'm only saying that because I was fasting, and it's amazing how emotionally attached I was to food. Like even my coffee in the morning, I'm just like, oh, we're looking forward to that. Oh, as if this like external thing is dictating my emotions, which brings us back to the awareness thing that you said. I think I'm answering the question for you, so I'm going to shut up. What have you found from your clients, or given thoughts to for your clients, and what's worked for them in regard to, okay, so you're eating too much, backtrack.
Yes, it's the awareness really. That's step one, right? Because if you notice, so a lot of us don't actually notice our emotions, and we don't feel them. Like we intellectualize our emotions instead of feeling them. So, for example, in that instance where you're talking about that 35-year-old guy who, has an argument with his boss and he goes and eats the candy. Well, he's probably not aware that he's doing that. Like consciously, he knows, all right, yeah, I'm going to go to the supermarket, I'm going to buy the candy, but he's not aware of like what's driving him to do that, right? And he doesn't question that. Like, why am I doing this? Why do I feel the need to go and eat this candy? Because how do I feel? First of all, how do you feel? Right? Identify that emotion. How do you feel? And then question, why am I acting on this feeling? Why can't I just leave it and feel that emotion and just let it go? And so this is what I help my clients with, because it's very easy to consciously talk about this now, but actually doing it's way harder, right? Like in that moment, it's hard to actually implement this. That's why they need coaching and stuff. But yeah, so just feel that emotion and just let it pass through you instead of acting on it. So we believe our emotions. That's the problem. So, and everything, it's easier said than done. I know that. I'm very aware of that. But it's when I'm feeling frustrated, right? Am I going to act on that frustration? Or am I going to take a step back, take a deep breath, take 6 deep breaths, right? It's been scientifically proven that 6 deep breaths can calm you down in an instant. So that's what I do. I'm like, okay, do I need to act on this frustration, or can I just let it pass? And the next step is to figure out what other things I can do to counter this emotion. So if I'm feeling frustrated, how can I feel the opposite of that? Like, how can I feel like happy and fun? And what things can I do that will help me be happy and fun, right? So maybe it's listening to music. For me, I wake up in the morning, and before I used to like go on my phone and stuff, even though I tell people not to do that. It's a bad habit, right? But then when I started jiu-jitsu recently. So before I go to jiu-jitsu, I play my reggae music, and that just puts me in a good mood. It makes me feel good, makes me feel happy, right? So this is something that people can do, when they're feeling an emotion they don't like, instead of just, giving into it, because that only creates more of that emotion, and it's just a vicious cycle. And that's when you go on that slippery slope, right? So one of my clients, he talks about how sometimes if he eats, for example, the first meal of the day usually has to be something good, right? Like something nutritious. But if he eats, for example, popcorn at 9 a.m. in the morning, his whole day is gone, because he, in his mind, believes that he's on a slippery slope and the day's gone because I've had popcorn. Why not just eat all the other stuff as well? So this is nutrition is. I haven't even spoke about what to eat on this call. It's all up here.
Exactly. Well, I think you're right. Like everything begins here. Everything begins here. And your analogy just then of like if you get frustrated, you're going to act on it. Let's pretend I got frustrated a lot. Let's pretend I got frustrated in Sainsbury's, and other supermarkets are available. But I was in Sainsbury's and I got frustrated because somebody took the last blueberry box. I don't know. What do? Am I gonna, if I act on that, am I gonna shout in the middle of Sainsbury's? Or am I gonna punch the guy? Obviously, no. it's just blueberries. I'm not going to act on that. That is a very short-term, explosive reaction that can sabotage you. And I love what you just said, because if we put that back to me in the house and I see M&Ms, I'm like, I'm a little bit, I could be a bit down. Let's pretend, no one came on the summit. It was rubbish. I'm going to have some M&Ms. I'm going to have some M&Ms, whatever. By the way, this is dog food for my dog in case he barks. So I'm just saying. So if I have to have that, it's just like, yes, it's okay. But I'm acting on my sadness, and that's my fuel. So if I'm acting, but then again, it's not explosive sabotage, it's long-term sabotage, because it's like putting a frog in boiling in water that's gradually going to get boiled. You sabotage yourself over time, but because it's happening in so small increments, you don't notice it. So you're aware of things. Smashed it, man. Yeah.
It's like how we lose. Sorry, I'm just gonna put the light on. How we lose weight and how we gain weight is the same, right? So it's like how we lose weight and how we gain weight is the same. It's incremental over time. Like, how do you put on weight? You don't even notice it. It's just like creepy on you. It's like every day the small little habits creep up on each other and compound against each other over time.
Yeah. So would you say that eating habits are more important for a parent to demonstrate to their child and not force upon, or how would you?
Oh yeah. So I've got a story about this. So I'm glad you asked that. So I was back in the UK for 2 months, and that was the longest time I've been back in a few years. And I was spending time with. I usually don't spend much time with my baby brother, so I was spending I was staying there for a week at a time, and it was very interesting living with him because I saw how he ate, and so I'm sitting there and I'm eating my food, right, which is so I can talk more about the nutrition and stuff, but essentially I eat a high fat way of eating, right? So when I eat food, it's like bacon, eggs, beef, stuff like that. And he saw how I was eating, and he loves eggs already, so he was eating the eggs, and then he started looking at me eating the bacon and the beef, and we went to the park. I took him to the park, and I started showing him some stuff and had him do a pull up and try and do a pull up, and he was hanging on the bar, and he loved it. And then after that, we came back and had dinner, and he saw what I was eating, and I said to him, do you want some? He's like, yeah, I'll try some. And then now I'm back in Bali. He's obviously in London. My dad's partner said to me, all he wants to eat is bacon, eggs, and beef. Because he wants to be like you, Aaron. He wants to be strong. So what I learned from that is, children they follow your example, right? Like, I could have told him about what to eat, but he just follows my example. And for the development of kids and their mood, that stable mood, and their mental health and mental clarity and stuff like that, it's essential for them to eat more fat in their nutrition. And I told his mom, told my dad, and they're all on board with it now. So yeah, it's really good. His mood's stabilizing, and his sugar cravings are decreasing as a result of increasing his fats, healthy fats.
That's wicked, mate. And to be honest, you know what's even better about this? And I think there's a hidden lesson here for parents that are watching this. You didn't go, what if his name's Billy? Let's present it. Billy, look at this. Do you want to look? Eat this. It's going to make you strong. Hey, Billy, come here. Eat this now. Look, I'll show you something. Obviously, listening, isn't he? But you were just doing your own thing, like a role model, and he was just like that.
Yeah.
Now, son.
Yep. Yeah, and so that's the thing, right? Like, and I treat my clients the same way. I don't push any of my agendas on them or anything. It's just, hey, if you want to do this, then we're going to do it. If not, then that's cool. But it's leading by example. That's one of my values, actually, is leading by example. So I try and do that as much as I can.
I like that, dude. I've got a question for you. And I'm sorry if it scares you in any way, shape, or form. But let's pretend you fall deeply in love with a beautiful princess girl. And I say girl, by the way, because I know that Aaron's straight, so it's fine. And then you have a child, and you're raising your child. Would there be a different kind of dynamic for you? Because obviously your baby brother is your baby brother, and you know, he's who he is. You know, but if you were to have a child, would you want to? This is going to sound horrible. I'm just, for want of a better word, force your child to eat the same as you and do the same things as you because he's your kid. How would that look?
Yeah, good question. So it goes back to what I was saying earlier about that Netflix documentary. So
Yeah.
a big thing that I tell my clients is to control your environment, right? So if in your environment is only the quote unquote healthy food, then you have no choice. Like, otherwise you're gonna starve, right? Like, and then you're gonna get used to the healthy food, and then you're gonna grow up and you're gonna be a normal functioning kid, you know. So I'm not gonna force anything, but it's just what's in the house. Like when I was growing up, my parents didn't have much money, so we had to eat what was put in front of us. So sometimes it'll be like tinned fish and rice.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't want to eat tinned fish and rice as a kid, but that was the only thing on the table. So
That's good. And the reason I ask that for is because, you know, there's a lot of parents that are on this, and sometimes they might be a bit resistant, which is okay, which is fine. For me personally, I always believe in having like a bit of a non-mollycoddle approach to parenting their child, because otherwise they'll grow up not very resilient. If they were to fall over and hurt their knee, and I go, "Oh, baby, come here, poor baby, it's okay," and only then he starts crying. So I had to reflect on myself. I did a call a while ago about this, saying, well, actually, if I had a child, would I, and they fall over and hurt themselves and graze their knee, or fall off a slide and smash on the floor, would I run over to them and go, "It's okay, boo, it's okay"? I wouldn't. I'd leave them to it. And obviously I'll make sure they're not hurt, like really badly hurt, but I wouldn't want to coddle them. So, and I can be true in that, thinking, no, they're gonna hurt themselves. They're gonna splash in a puddle. I'm not gonna cry because I have to do an extra wash. It's them learning. It's them exploring. So I just wanted to like double check in with you, and it sounds like, mate, that you are hitting the value, your value, what you said just now. Lead by example.
Yeah.
So that's cool. Okay, so there were loads of little nuggets there in regard to parents' relationship with food. I love that. Let's just be conceptual, and just be like, boom, what sort of foods do you think would help a child's development?
Yeah, so I always start with the main one, which is the fat, right? Because the human brain is 60% fat. And so this is why we need to fuel the brain with fat. And this is the whole fat is bad thing that is rife in the world, really. And it stems from I'm not going to go into the history of it, but it stems from this guy called Ansel Keys in 1960s. He basically told the American Heart Association that the reason why people die of heart disease is because of cholesterol, which is present in the arteries, and that's because of saturated fat. Therefore, saturated fat's bad. Therefore, we need to do low fat. And then that was basically the start of the increase in heart disease. If you look at the numbers going back to the 1960s, so low fat diets became more prevalent. You know, seed oils like vegetable oils, which I don't advise anyone eat because they're highly inflammatory in the body. So if you just focus on the healthy fats, so when I say healthy fats, I mean, you know, olives, olive oil, coconut oil, butter, eggs. And if you eat meat, if you don't eat meat, then it's kind of harder to get more fats in. So I definitely advise people to eat meat because, you know, you're going to get lots of healthy fats, like fish, mackerel, sardines, tuna, you know, beef, pork, lamb, bone broth, you know, cooking the bones of the animal to get the collagen, you know, necessary for hair, nails, skin. Since I started increasing my bone broth consumption, my sugar cravings went away, skin got better, joints improved, and I healed my injury. I had an injury in my shoulder. So these are the things that I advocate, because the human body only needs 2 macronutrients. So we got 3 macronutrients, which is protein, carbs, and fat, right?
Yeah.
And most people are eating very high carb, right? Very low fat and very low protein. And if you balance those 3 macronutrients like that, then as you age, you're going to have man boobs and you're going to have a beer belly, because that's how it works in the human body. So what I do and what I help my clients do is reverse those macronutrient balances. So, high protein, and then you can do moderate fat or high fat, and then low carb. Okay. And that completely changes everything. It's like seeing for the first time. It's like my client said, he just feels limitless now. Like he feels like he can see around corners, because your brain needs fat. So we're increasing the fat and he feels better. Go figure.
That's wicked. And I'm going to be really selfish. Sorry, guys, that are watching this, but I've got a bad shoulder right there. It's killing me. It's so annoying. I don't know if it's my rotator cuff. I'm not sure. But like press ups or bench press is starting to really get me a little bit fired up at the moment. Talk about frustration, because this is what I do. It's my life. I love doing it. It's me. Working out is me. So you're saying that diets. I would love to take part in something like that. It was a very long time ago, but you did a recipe, or you did a how-to video about making a bone broth, and I think that'd be really, really cool for maybe parents to watch this and just to play around with it. So is that, if you got, let's do it now actually. How can people find you, buddy? Have you got YouTube or?
Yeah, I'm on YouTube, Aaron Darko. You can search my name, which is on the screen on YouTube. And then I'm on Instagram, The Real Darko, and you can search my name on Facebook, Aaron Darko. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just The Real Darko. You've got a brother, haven't you?
Yeah, my brother's Jordan Darko. He's a music artist.
But this is the real one, guys. Okay.
Yeah, that's the real Darko.
You got the real Darko here. that's the real Darko. That's how much to say. That's just talking. That's his mom. Sorry for showing.
That's my mom. Yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah, so that's awesome. So if anybody's interested, you can find Aaron on all those devices, on those platforms. I know there's a few people here wanting to reach out to you already. I want a bit of chat with you. Yeah, so that's really cool. That's something that I'm going to get hold of. Now, there's something I heard recently as well that may it has helped me. So I don't know if it's going to help other people. Joe Rogan and what's his name? Aubrey Marcus. They had a bit of a podcast a while ago, and they were talking about saying, look, do not be a slave to mouth pleasure. Do not be a slave to mouth pleasure. I don't know if you ever come across that before, but if you have, what do you think about
that? In terms of what they were talking in the context in terms of food?
Yeah, so I was hearing it. So he said so Joe Rogan was making a really good. So you need to listen to this, guys. He was making a really, really good smoothie. It was like kale in there. There was a garlic clove. There was like cayman. There was, all the stuff that you don't really want to put in a smoothie, because it smelled disgusting. It looked disgusting. It was spirulina in there, and it was horrible. And he said, look, I'm just going to drink it, and it's going to give me 5 seconds of distaste, mispleasure, but I know for a while that everything in here is so vital for my body to function properly. I do not want to be a slave to mouth pleasure. I've spoken to a lot of people about this, and a lot 50-50 kind of people are, why would I want to eat that for? It just tastes horrible. I'm thinking, get over it. It's really good for you. Respect yourself enough to put this stuff in your body, and you're going to get so many benefits from it. Do you have the sort of the same principle with your clients?
Yes and no. So yes, I agree with the concept of it's going to be good for me, so I'm going to eat it, right? But I don't believe that the food that you eat has to not taste good. Like you can have the best of both worlds in that regard, right? You can have the great food and you can have it taste good, and you can not mesh them together. So yeah, so basically nothing I eat is horrible. Like everything I eat is great. It's tasty. But one of the main things that people notice when they start increasing their protein and increasing their fats is that, they're not having the cravings. So they're not craving that pleasure, right? That we're talking about, because your brain, your body doesn't need it. Like you're giving your body what it needs. Like when you give your body what it needs, your body takes care of you. So that's pretty much what it is. The reason why we have these cravings all the time is because we're constantly feeding our body energy. We're not feeding our body nutrients. So what I talk about is energy versus nutrient dense foods. So if you don't eat nutrient dense foods, right, then and you're eating energy like Pringles and all the crap in the supermarket, right, like crisps, biscuits, that's all energy. That's not nutrient dense. And so you're always going to be hungry because your body's never releasing the hormone called leptin, which is going to signal to your brain that you're full. So your brain's like, oh, I'm not full. I need to eat. I need to eat. So you're always eating. And humans are not designed to be grazing all the time. Like we're not ruminants. We're not cows. You know, we don't have 4 compartmental stomachs. Like we're designed to intermittently eat and intermittently fast, right? Eat and fast. Like when we're sleeping, we're fasting for 8 hours, right? So we're designed that way. We're not designed to be eating for our entire waking hours, which is what 95% of people do. Well, I don't know about the statistic, but a lot of people do that. And I used to do that too before I got into this.
Yeah, and it's weird. It's really cool as well that you said that. I'm just going back to the beginning. People eat when they're bored. Yeah, I think you've got to be aware of that. Sometimes people can sabotage themselves. That's very general. They can sabotage themselves. I don't know, nutritionally wise, let's say, by being bored, by being upset, or having the ill regulation of your emotions instead of being upset. And habit. Is there anything else that you think that you've noticed in your world?
No, those are the main ones because we like to hold on. So the emotional stuff is really the main thing, right? So it's interesting because I advertise myself and I'm like, hey, you want to lose fat, you want to do all this stuff, and then they come in and we start talking about self-love and emotions because that's the key. Because if we don't solve that, you're going to still have those problems. Like even when you're still going to have the relationship problems, and because it's the core of it is we're not letting go, right? Like we're holding on to these things and we're not letting go, which is causing us suffering. And the knock-on effect of the suffering is we go to the food, and it's just a vicious cycle that feeds itself. You eat that donut and then you feel even worse, and then you feel even worse, you eat more donuts, right? And it just keeps going. So we just stop the problem at the root, which is getting a handle on your emotions and gaining some awareness of that, and going deep into being mindful of that and learning how to let go of the emotions that don't serve us and feeling it and letting it go. Like the other day I had a panic attack. Not the other day, but it's almost a month now. I had a panic attack and it was the first one in my life. And the reason why I had that is because I was getting anxious. Like I wasn't living in the present, I was living in the future. And I was getting anxious over the future, which is what I think most of us do. But I was just thinking about where I should be as opposed to where I am right now. And I was thinking about all the work I have to do to get to where I want to be, rather than focusing on being here right now and just being present. And I started looking at all the other people who were more successful than me. And I started getting in my head, started feeding myself all these thoughts, all this evidence that I'm not as good as those people. And I started having a panic attack. Looking back at it now, I realized that I wasn't living in the present and I wasn't, focusing on what I can control. Like when we focus on outside things that we can't control, but we're trying to control, we get more suffering. Like I cannot change reality. I can only change myself. And so I think when we are suffering, we go about our nutrition and we can understand exactly what to eat, know all the theory, but if we're feeling like we're suffering emotionally, that all goes out the window and we're just going to go and default to whatever makes us feel good in the moment.
Well, that must have been stepping aside from nutrition. That must have been a bit of a shock, I guess. That you had because you've never had it before.
No.
So that's okay. But I love the way you've framed that. You recognise, because I believe that too. I believe that anxiety lives in the future, and depression. I'm sorry to undermine depression. I don't mean to, but lives in the past. yeah, so depression lives back there. But if we live for the now and sort out what we're doing right now, then that's gonna keep us safe in our own head.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like with comparing yourself to the people, dude. I don't care who you are. You could be Tony Robbins or Brian Tracy. You're still going to compare yourself to other people. It's humane. I do it. I did it very, very recently, and it's horrible. It's a horrible place to sit. So, what sort of advice do you give to your clients that may help some parents and even non-parents watching this as well that really want to focus on their nutrition and their health, that you keep them aligned in their own task?
Well, I think so. As far as nutritional advice, I mean, everyone's got their own way of going about nutrition. Like, for example, you've got some people who are against eating meat and all that kind of stuff. But typically, my approach is eating meat, incorporating that, because one of my clients is an ex-vegan of 5 years, and he was just completely malnourished. Right. I'm not going to get into the vegan stuff, but like I didn't convince him to not be a vegan. It was just I was just myself, and we were friends before he got involved with me, and then all of a sudden now he's texting me pictures of him eating steak, and he's like, man, I love it, like I feel great, like I'm I have loads more energy, because he didn't realize how bad he felt like back then, like. And so again, he's increased his protein, right? He's eating a lot of protein, like and then also he's eating more fat. And so just on those two things alone, if you do those two things, increase your protein, increase your healthy fats, then you will not want to have as much carbohydrates, and you won't want to have as much junk food as you're probably eating right now. And that's been the case for me, and it's been the case for my clients as well. And so that's what works for me and my clients. And based on biochemistry, also at a biochemical level, understanding the human body, the human body only actually needs protein and fat. We don't actually need carbohydrates, because our body turns the excess protein into glucose. So yes, the brain does need glucose, but our body has a process called gluconeogenesis that does that. So we can actually thrive just on protein and fat. And that's what I eat most of the time. Like, only recently I've introduced some sourdough bread, but I'm not going to stop that.
That's awesome. Yeah, because
there's a question.
Yeah, we are grazers. We're not grazers. Well, we are kind of grazers, but when we only started creating corn and harvest and farming, like after being on this planet for like how many years? Like what, 5,000 years? So that's when we started to be introduced to that, because we were cavemen didn't have the harvest or anything like that. But it's only just started coming in. I don't know if we've evolved to eat and consume food differently, but that's awesome. I didn't know that. I didn't know there's a gluconeogenesis, is it?
Gluconeogenesis. It's the excess protein is converted into glucose. Yeah.
Wicked. And like, I just want to reiterate, guys, like we've just been talking about, we're not making anyone do the same. This is how you need to live. This is just like thoughts. And we've got a question here, dude. Can you read that?
Yeah. So how would you suggest introducing new foods into your diet from Megan?
Yeah. Megan, yeah.
Oh, Megan.
Was it funny? I meant to talk to you about that.
It'll be funny if she actually corrects you. She's like, no, my name's Megan. So how would you suggest introducing new foods into your diet? So what I would do is do it one by one. So this is another thing. There's so many things. When you eliminate a lot of the foods that you're eating down to the bare essentials, like I was talking about protein and fat, and you start slowly introducing more foods, you start noticing some of the foods that you are eating actually affect you in a way that you don't like. For example, my client who's an ex-vegan, he's now realized, since he went back to how I used to eat for like a week, because life gets in the way, something goes on, and that's why you need coaching, right? So he said if he didn't have me, he would have quit already. But he went back to how he used to eat for a week, and he noticed that when he eats refried beans, he gets a lot of gas, and he's on the toilet more than twice in a day when he eats refried beans. But the only way he can know that the refried beans have that effect on him is if he minimizes the variables. right? So if you just add that in, so if you have your base, your staple foods, so I like to say your staple foods, and then you add something else outside of that, then you know, okay, I added in this, that caused me to be on the toilet 3 times a day. Oh, okay, so I'm not going to have this food then. I'm not going to buy that anymore. So, you know, she said everyone pronounces it wrong.
So that's awesome. So Megan.
So incrementally, yeah, one by one.
Yeah, one by one. So eliminate the variables. So if your diet is so varied, then maybe try and structure it more in a week, and then add bits to it if you want to. So I think Megan can't have dairy as well. So she's got quite a strict regime of food, which is good. Some people think, oh, I'm lactose intolerant or kind of this kind of. But if you think about it, that's pretty cool because you've got more structure and you can play around with it and tweak it more. So it's not a bad thing just because you kind of have milk. Then you're not really losing at life. It's okay. Dude, so if anybody else has got any questions, that'd be really, really cool. I've got a question before we do move on, and the last one is what would you say? What would Aaron say to 11-year-old Aaron to want to make an impact in the world? What might you say right now, bro, to him? Like, imagine it's a time machine, and he was like, "Whoa, you look like me, but old." What would you say to him?
about what? In life in general, or
like full on life? We're going to go to the life question now.
I would say I'd say life is a choice. The only decision you have to make in life, the only decision that we have to make in life is the choice to be happy. And I think that what I would tell him is, you can, in every situation, you can choose whether or not you want to be happy or not. And lots of stuff's going to happen to you. You're going to feel pain. You're going to experience pain, but you can choose how to react to it. You can't control what's going to happen to you, but you can control how you react to it. And in that in itself, that's a choice of whether you choose to be happy and let it go, or you choose to harbor the resentment, the emotions, and you just hold on to it, right? And so that's actually something that I'm doing of late, is just learning to let go and not hold any resentment for anything or anyone. And when I notice that I'm feeling resentment, just notice that I'm feeling resentment and just let it go. And like I said before, that's the act of being aware that you're aware, and that's the place, that's the ultimate place, I think. And then from that place, you're happy inside. You may not always be happy outside, like externally, but on the inside, you're happy and you have peace. And that's really the goal, is just to have peace and not have any resentment or hate towards anyone, or and live in the present. The only thing we have is the present moment right now. Like, tomorrow is tomorrow. Like, we only have right now. And listen intently. And there's so many things, but in a nutshell, I'll just say, just be a good human and have a vision for what you want your life to look like, and serve everything with 100%. So right now I'm on this live stream, so I'm serving with all my energy, all of my knowledge, everything. Like, this is the only thing that exists in my world right now. I'm not thinking about anything else. I'm super present, right? And if you just do everything like that, you'll be fine, because you're giving your energy to what's in front of you, rather than thinking about the next thing or thinking about what you're going to do after this or whatever. You're just present and you're giving your all. And I think that's it.
Dude, that's cool, man. I'm really glad this is going to be recorded, because I wanted to write all that down, but I wanted to be present. But that was cool. Really well. Thankfully, it is being recorded, so that's really awesome. I love that. That's awesome, because, like you say, time's a real currency, isn't it? So, just live for the now, be now, choose happiness. Resentment, let it go. So important. It always reminds me of Frozen, because I believe in that as well. Just let it go. Just let it go. Life's too short. So I just want to say, dude, it's been an absolute pleasure and honor to speak to you today. I know it's a Sunday evening where you are, and I know everyone else that's watching this and will watch this in the future is going to be so thankful for you, bro. So thank you for giving us 100% of your energy. I really appreciate that, and all of your knowledge bombs. And I can't wait when I go to Bali. I'm going to totally bump into you. You can show me things.
Yeah, for sure.
You show me how to do more. But
we'll do.
Yeah, cheers.
Thank you too, man. I appreciate this. This is it's really nice to just share with people that appreciate, because that's another thing, right? Like appreciating one another, I think is important as well. And so I want to acknowledge you for that, and just appreciating what I'm doing, which is always nice that someone notices, and and just spreading the word, spreading good value with people and helping people improve their lives, because that's ultimately what our gift on this planet is.
That's true, bro. That's true. Mate, thank you again, bro. I really appreciate you. If you want a recording, I'll ping it over to you. So have an epic rest of your evening. Carry on being safe over there in Bali. I'm sure you are. And it's been a pleasure. Thanks, man.
Awesome. Thanks.
Take care, bro.
Take it easy. See you later, guys.
See you, man. That was freaking awesome. How cool was that, just to get a different perspective from somebody, a different perspective on that. Next, what we have, I'm going to close this one down. We've got Dale Sidebottom, and he's an Aussie. We're going back to Australia. We've just been to Bali. We're going back to Australia, and we're going to be hanging out with Mr. Energy himself, Dale Sidebottom. Don't you think he's got a really cool first name? I don't know. I don't know why I said that for. He's got a really, really cool name. And I'm going to close this one down, and I'm going to see you in about 3 minutes' time. I need to go to the gents, so I need to know that. But I'm going to leave you to it. Carry on being awesome.